Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 134. As Ashton bows out, Cipriani steps in, and it turns out Folau was once an advocate for inclusion in sport. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hey guys, welcome back. We are coming to you a little bit earlier this week. We're a bit more on the ball, which is great for us. Hopefully that's good for you guys too. Look, plenty more to talk about today. Joined, of course, by Dan. Hi, mate.
Hello, buddy. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm good. It's all starting to gear up now, isn't it? It's all starting to feel like the World Cup is around the corner.
I love a World Cup year. So this is rugby offseason. This is sort of rugby barren land, but there's a lot still going on. There's still a lot to go through, a lot to chat. And obviously the World Cup plays a big part of that. And I love it because the more rugby, the better.
Absolutely. Well, before we get stuck into all the rugby chat, we've got some thank yous to make. Had some more reviews. We haven't had any for a while, but we had a little spike in listeners last week, which is great. You know, we really appreciate that, and it means that you guys are obviously spreading the word. But it's also given us a little boost in the old iTunes rankings, which is always good too. So we want to keep that going. So yeah, guys, if you like what you're listening to, get over to iTunes, rate us, review us, and keep spreading the word because we really appreciate that. We really do. So who have we heard from this week? So Mr. Perrin in Ireland, giving us 5 stars. He said, "Hi, this is Mr. Sam Perrin. I listen to your podcast every week and I have to say I love it. Can't wait for England to win the World Cup. Jack Nowell or Tom Curry are probably my favourite players. Who do you think would win Saracens versus Crusaders at this moment? Keep up the great work."
Well, Sam, thanks very much. Awesome. And yes, brother. England are going to win the World Cup. Great thinking.
And obviously Saracens would win.
I'm going Saracens. I think Saracens would win. Crusaders are awesome, and their attacking players great. I think Saracens defensively and the power up front. Yeah. I think Crusaders would struggle. I actually think Saracens might win that fairly comfortably.
Interesting.
It would be my thoughts. Sam, let us know what you think. What do you reckon, Ackers?
I agree with you. I think Sarries have the more complete game, and I think currently, in terms of club sides, you're struggling to find someone who's going to topple them. They've just looked too good. You know, even when they've been not so good, they've still looked that good. They've got that ability to do what needs to be done when things are not going to plan, and when things do go to plan, get out of the way. Do you know what I mean?
It's a hell of an interesting match, that would be, though, wouldn't it? I'd love to see that.
Yeah. So the next one is an old favourite, Mr. Ackford. Wade Ackford is back.
Wade, me old boy, how are we doing?
He's retained. We've retained our 5 stars, which is always nice. He says, "Guys, hope you're well, Uncle." Well, so first of all, he calls the post the mad uncle in the attic, and he says, "Guys, hope you're well. Uncle Eddie is back to his old tricks and not taking his medication. No care, no Rob Shaw. Madness. My guess he'll not pick Good or Sippers for the final squad when announced. Why don't we go to Japan having chopped one of our arms off as well? Selection. Take the best players available so he fails on that count. In a World Cup, you need caps and big game experience above everything else. Another Boris Johnson type shambles on this score. The man's a loon. Best, Wade."
So I quite like Wade's things because Wade is I can't even think of something that I was going to say here. So I don't know, the yin to our yang. So we're overly positive. I think Wade's clearly a massive England fan, overly negative.
The shade to our rose-tinted glasses.
Yes, yeah. He's yes. Well played.
Thank you.
So I kind of agree with. I get what you're saying, and to me, Rob Shaw would be ahead of a couple players, and Danny Care might be, but I don't think they're criminal leave-out. So the other scrum halves, I think, are great. Ben Youngs, to me, is still number 1. Dan Robson, I think, is great. We mentioned this last week. Ben Spencer playing well. I'd still have Care. Rob Shaw I'd have ahead of Shields, but actually, there's other players I'd have ahead of Rob Shaw, like Don Armand, for example.
But let's also not forget that one we're talking currently about the training squad. But next week, hopefully, because I suspect that the remainder of the training squad will be announced at the end of this week, and obviously we're coming to you guys a little bit earlier than usual. But when the 31 gets picked from that training squad, I think we're going to struggle to find a place for Rob Shaw anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll cover that when we go through what we're predicting for the 31. But I think when we look at the names on the team sheet and who we suspect the 31 will be, I don't think we're going to be there going, oh, you see now, this is where Rob Shaw probably should have slotted in. But we'll see. But yeah, and I think, madness, my guess he'll not pick Good or Sippers. Quite possibly, but let's see what happens. Let's wait until the squad's announced. Let's see if
and there's something which I'll bring up later on around that issue as well.
Interesting, right? Well,
a teaser.
Exactly, a little teaser. That's what we like at the beginning of the episode. Keep people listening, Dan. Good marketing. And then finally, we have from Harley Quinn. Give you one guess as to who he supports. This is Tommy. He says, the best, 5 stars. Quite simply, the best rugby podcast ever. Yours sincerely, Tommy.
Tommy, legend, thank you so much.
I'm not sure I believe you, Tommy, but we definitely appreciate that.
I believe you, Tommy. I believe you.
Thousands that wouldn't, but there's clearly a good group of you that do. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in, as I said before. And yeah, Tommy, nice words. Loving that feedback. So yeah, guys, get your reviews in. Good or bad, we will read them out. Can't promise to be happy about the bad ones, but we'll read them out and debate whatever it is you have to say. So keep that coming. Right. Last thing before we move on, I had a tweet. Dan, this is really for you. Joe Reed.
Joe, how we doing, man?
To the last episode, he asks, first of all, he says thoughts on Ashton, which we'll come on to now. But he also says, I'd also like to express my disappointment in Dan. Now, obviously, this confused me. So I said to him, disappointment in Dan? There are so many things this could relate to. Which one are you referring to? And, of course, it was the Love Island. He says, too many fallen comrades lately. So.
Joe, I'm so sorry. I promise I fought it. I promise I did not want to like it. It's everything I hate in TV.
And now everything you love.
Sucked in it. Oh.
Guilty pleasures, mate. That's why everyone's loving it, because it is the guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure. I still fight to hate it.
But because everybody has it as a guilty pleasure, it's almost become okay to like it.
But Joe, I owe you an apology. Yes, sir. I am sorry for that.
But turning to his question of Ashton.
Okay, well, we're done on Love Island then.
We're done on Love Island. This is not the Love Island podcast. I'm sure there is one. I'm sure there's plenty. But this one is the England Rugby Pod, Dan.
Yes, it is.
So, yeah, Ashton's obviously announced that he's pulled out of contention for the World Cup. Family commitments. His wife, I believe, is pregnant, and I don't know the dates and things, but I'm assuming that they were going to coincide, and they've decided that he needs to be around, which is absolutely fair enough. It's going to be a shame for him from a World Cup point of view, but I'm sure he doesn't see it. I'm sure he sees what he's getting as being bigger and more important than a World Cup, even. I find it a bit strange that it's only now that he's announced this.
It's I find so. Obviously, his wife's pregnant and he's pulled out. let me rephrase that.
Or he hasn't. That's the point, Dan. He hasn't pulled out.
His wife's pregnant and he's withdrawn from the England rugby squad. I literally couldn't have worded that worse. But I'm with you. And despite what some people despite what I believe, and rightly so, some people think there are things more important than rugby. And there's no part of me that in any way is I fully respect Ashton's decision. Who he doesn't give a shit whether I respect it or not. But I completely get that, families first. And Andy, in fairness to you, you and I used to believe rugby was most important. The way I've heard you speak recently, there's times where I think you put your wife above rugby, which is pretty poor. But I'll let you off.
I mean, that's because she started listening to the Rugby Pod.
Ah, nice. Very smart.
But don't tell her I said so.
No, I won't. We'll keep it between us.
Nice.
I agree. Is there more to this? That's something I wanted to ask. So you're right. It does seem, we have no idea what's going on. And there's no part of me that is in any way criticising this decision from Ashton. Absolutely what's right for you. But
yeah, absolutely. I guess maybe they've been debating it for a while. Maybe at the beginning they worked out the dates and she was like, "It's a World Cup. You've got to do it. This is what it's all about." But as times progress, there might have been complications. They've made the decision that he needs to be there to support her, and so the decision has been made. But I guess it's. I mean, my question for you, therefore, is if it wasn't Chris Ashton in this situation, if it was Elliot Daly or Johnny May, would we be quite so supportive of the decision?
Of course we would. It's not that we're not supporting the decision. We're fully, it doesn't matter whether we're supporting them or not. But it's, I think we'd be more upset by the decision purely because we love them as rugby players, and I love Chris Ashton as a rugby player. And Chris Ashton, I think, is a loss. I think he's an amazing player. The only thing is, with what's going on, and whether this was part of his decision-making process, I don't know. But with what's going on, with the players available, do you reckon there was any part of him that thought, there's a good chance that actually maybe I'm not on that plane? So now's maybe the right, either support her fully or not? Or do you think...
I mean, you've got May, Daly, Nowell, Cokanasiga, Watson, who probably all get on the plane before Ashton.
Yeah.
Maybe he's number 6 if there was another space for a back 3 player. Maybe. I'm trying to think who might get the call up ahead of him.
I wonder whether Eddie's got Mike Brown ahead of him.
Possibly. As a sort of, or actually, and in fact, we don't know yet what's happening with Alex Good. If Alex Good is in contention, personally, I put him ahead. Put him in that mix as well ahead of Ashton. So yeah, possibly he was thinking to himself, look, there's a good chance I'm going to pull out of this, and it's not looking that likely that I'm going to get the call up anyway. Maybe Eddie even went to him and just said, look, I know your situation. We don't know how much they communicate, so maybe Eddie's like, I know your situation. To be honest, mate, I'm not convinced that you're going to get the call. Your wife's pregnant. Do you want to just bow out now and kind of control the narrative?
I think that's a possibility, probably on a slightly lesser scale than that, but I think that's obviously probably a possibility. It's an interesting one because in my head I'm thinking, there might be a bit more to it, and look, that doesn't change anything. Chris Ashton is a legend of a player. It doesn't change a thing, and we wish you and your family all the best, obviously. But it does seem that there might be more to the story. If the more to the story is a personal thing, then absolutely none of our business, and we can leave it alone. If it's a rugby thing, I'd be really intrigued to know what that is, and whether it might be a Eddie thing. Eddie saying, "Look, Chris, at the moment, I can't see a scenario. Assuming everything goes form, I can't see a scenario where you will be involved. In which case it might be," or whether Eddie would have said that so early, I doubt, but whether that's the sort of vibes, or whether it's just something Chris Ashton might just think, with that going on, obviously, because, this is family, it's the most important thing. He might think, could I give 100% to this training squad? Could I give 100% to this World Cup? And maybe Chris Ashton's actually done a really noble thing here and thought, do you know what? The boys don't deserve me here if I can't give 100%.
Yeah, and maybe he said, dates wise, it could happen during the World Cup or it could happen after. If it happens during, I'm out. And they made the decision between them that it was all or nothing. And there's lots of possibilities as to what resulted, what caused this to happen. Bottom line is, Chris Ashton is no longer in contention. From an England point of view, it's always a shame, because he's definitely there or thereabouts. But I personally don't think that was going to be on the plane unless there are any injuries. Perhaps the Jack Nowell thing, where it was kind of a bit of an unknown. Will he be fit? Won't he be fit? Maybe there was more of a chance then when it was confirmed. Well, not confirmed, but suggested that actually he's going to be fine. That kind of put the nail in the coffin. Who knows? It's a conundrum, Dan.
I'm similar to I'm similar to Sam, who we got messaged from earlier. As in, Jack Nowell's one of my favourite players. it would take a hell of a lot for Jack Nowell not to be on that plane, even if he's going in onto a plane not 100% fit. If there's a chance that he's going to be 100% fit come knockout phases, then I think he's on the plane, because Jack Nowell to me is just unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think Cokanasiga has shown that he offers something that none of our other back three players in contention offer. And so you need
an extra 50 kg and 2 foot in height. Yeah.
Yeah. But you need that flexibility to be able to kind of change things up if necessary. And I know we've only seen him in an England shirt once, and it's always a dangerous game to sort of.
Oh, we've seen him a couple of times.
Have we seen him more than once?
Yeah, we've seen him more than once. Like his subs.
But yeah, he's not obviously had a lot of time to bed in, but he's looked pretty sharp when he's been there. So I think it's a risk worth taking if in fact it would even be described as a risk. But yeah, I think Ashton, disappointing, but completely understand why he's sticking by his wife. But I think perhaps doesn't make a huge difference to the England 31 going to Japan.
Yeah, quite possibly. But like you say, the timing was quite interesting. You almost feel like that timing would have happened before, but like we say, we don't know how the landscape's changed, either personally or rugby wise, for Ashton. So either way, whatever the scenario, the Ashton family, all the best with your second child.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to give up saying that we're not going to talk about it, because of course we're going to talk about it. Israel Folau. The saga continues. So we talked last week about how awful, how we thought it was a bit of a disgrace that he'd gone down the GoFundMe route, and all these people were covering his costs, and this, in spite of the clearly far more needy people on the website. GoFundMe, the business, clearly listened to what we had to say, and they pulled his funding and refunded all of the people that had donated to him.
And GoFundMe, by the way, if you're listening or anyone's listening from there, that was awesome. Well done. You stood up for what's right. I respect that.
Unfortunately, it's had the opposite effect, of course, because some Christian support group, ACL, I think it's called, Australian Christian League or something, has picked up where GoFundMe left off and kind of doubled his funding almost overnight.
I have less. This sounds weird, and just because I'm saying something, it doesn't mean I'm right. But
we know.
We know. I'm less annoyed by this. So yeah, it's the Australian Christian lobby. So I have less anger at this, because it is a specific lobby raising money for him, and I think that's fair enough. I think what annoyed me most was when it was trying to use a public, and I still find it vile that the Australian Christian lobby themselves, I believe, gave $100,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, surely there's better things. But
that's the point, isn't it?
At least they're doing it for something they believe in, and something they think might help Christianity. So,
but is that the are they doing it because it's something they believe in? This is the issue with this whole scenario. It's Israel Folau and those on his side are trying to twist the narrative. They're trying to make out that this is his freedom of speech and his freedom to practice his faith is being controlled by Australian rugby, and right from the start, it's been very clear that that's not the case. It's not about his freedom of religion. He's entitled to think what he wants. He's entitled to say what he wants. But there are consequences to actions. We're not going to go into it as we have done in the past. But I think I'm like you. I think you've given $100,000 to this guy who's already a multimillionaire, where surely there are, you want to keep it Christian, that's fine, but surely there are more needy Christian people out there who could benefit from that $100,000. To me, this is what did you call it? What was it? The Australian
Christian lobby.
Christian lobby. This is them trying to get their 5 minutes of fame. This is them going, Israel Folau is a celebrity. He's in the public eye. It's big at the moment. We get in there and do this. Everyone's talking about us, and as we are right now. And and we get our 5 minutes of fame. The irony is that they're trying to spread this message, you spread God's word or whatever it is that in helping him. The irony is that this is really doing is it's garnering support from the people who already support these Christian values, and it's kind of almost making those who they're trying to reach kind of push further away. I feel.
So what I wonder here, and something that's jumped out to me, in 2014, Israel Folau, along with Adam Ashley Cooper, which I completely support, posed on the cover of a gay magazine, a prominent gay magazine in Australia called Big Boys and Their Balls, trying to promote a gay rugby event in Australia called the Bingham Cup. I wonder what the Australian Christian lobby think about that. Hey guys, like this guy who's now suddenly become homophobic. And fair enough, people have a right to change their beliefs, but he posed, and posing for that, fine, and people can change their beliefs. Israel, if you did pose for that and you took money for it, give that fucking money back, you prick.
Dan, I need that information. I need to share that with our rugby Twitter followers.
So this is I'll
Dan obviously knows because he has a subscription, but
yeah, of course, yeah, damn right, yeah, good. I'm up.
What was it called? Big Men and Their Balls.
Big Boys and Their Balls. It was an Australian. It's an Australian sort of prominent gay magazine, and him and Adam Ashley Cooper, and good for them. They were trying to promote a gay rugby event, and Folau
trying to promote inclusion.
Yeah, at the time. Here's a quote. Israel is a strong advocate for ending all forms of discrimination in sport. I'm going to argue that point slightly.
That's very interesting, Dan. That's the first I've heard of it. Is there a source for this information that you can share?
If you Google it, it'll be online. Like just Google that and you'll see, and there's plenty about it. And
So you came across this because you Googled Big Boys and Their Balls?
Well, no, I was looking through my magazine, and I saw one of the copies back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
past issues.
But it was I first heard it from where did I first hear it from? I first heard it from I can't remember. Maybe it was maybe I was read it, or maybe it was another podcast or something. But I first heard it from someone. It wasn't.
But this isn't something that you've seen that's splashed all over the sort of front page of the Sky Sports website or anything like that. It's not something that everyone's going to already know about if I dig up the info and share it.
No, I think people will be aware of it, but I don't think it'll be huge.
Well, they're about to become more aware. That's good. That's
absolutely
good research there, Daniel. Okay, well, let's leave that for now because it's clearly a saga that's going to continue, and I'm sure there'll be more updates to follow. But yeah,
do you want to know how pathetic I was with this whole thing? When I was writing down like some notes for this podcast, I wrote down the notes and I wrote Folau, and I was like, I think I spelled his name wrong there, and I was like, do you know what? I'm not even going to look up the correct spelling. He doesn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, how much of a small, petty a man am I that I'm not even willing to check my spelling mistakes because I think he's a prick. But he's like, it's not about that. It was like you say, good on GoFundMe. And it's interesting because Gareth Thomas did there's something about an interview about it and about trying to get rid of homophobia in football and rugby. And I recommend that's well worth listening to and going through it, because we've got to a point, and we say that people are welcome to their beliefs, and 100% believe it. But actually, I don't believe, if it is your belief, that's fair enough. But I still don't believe there's space for that in rugby. If that's your belief, accept that that's not what rugby's about and deal with it, or don't play the game, don't get involved in the game. That's my belief.
Yeah. So profound words there.
Well, mate, I'm a bit of a wordsmith. I'm not going to lie to you.
I mean, that's definitely one way to describe you. Let's move along then. So you mentioned at the beginning that you had some news you wanted to share about. I think we were talking about Good and Cipriani.
So I have heard through a source of mine.
Exclusive?
Exclusive with regards to the fact that I read it when I was watching Sky Sports News. So, I can't imagine anyone else would have seen this.
Oh, but, Sky Sports News? I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I know. It's a very secretive source I've got here. But it said a Sky Sports source has shared with us that Danny Cipriani will be involved in the wider squad.
Boom.
That's all it said. But Sky Sports aren't going to put that on Sky Sports News, I think, unless they have a reasonably strong source.
Their source is Eddie Jones.
Their source will probably be stronger than my sources.
It makes sense with everything that we've seen over the last few weeks, with the fact that Cipriani was denied a spot playing for the Barbars. It makes sense that it's because he's going to be involved in the wider squad. I guess we'll find out later this week, and the big question will become: is Eddie going to take 3 fly halves? If he's only going to take 2, does he take Cipriani ahead of Ford? And for the reasons that we mentioned last week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I want Cipriani to go, but I think in the 3rd spot. And if there's only 2 going, I feel like Ford offers more to England. I feel bad. I feel dirty saying it.
I think Ford's had a great season. If Ford's on the plane, it's not because he hasn't earned the place. Let's put it that way. I want Farrell, Cipriani, and Ford all to go because I think Farrell and Cipriani, in fairness, can cover other positions.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It gives England more options. Bottom line, we were debating. We named 5 back 3 players. If he took a 6th, would it have been Ashton? We don't know yet what's going to happen with Alex Good. As I said, I would like him to be part of that. But if he's not, then you could almost sort of say, well, we're taking Cipriani as a 3rd flyer half / backup fullback.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's ways of making that work. And again, when we go through the squad and we make our predictions for the 31, we'll look into how the various connotations all kind of come together. But that is interesting. There's been a lot of call for it. Eddie Jones doesn't strike me as the sort of person, based on what we've seen over the last couple of years, to pander to media outcries. So I think if Cipriani's there, he's there for the right reasons, on merit, and it's because Eddie Jones has seen it. And you can't argue with the awards that he's won this season.
Yeah, completely.
So he'll be there on 4.
And all of them would. And the only thing I'm thinking is I'm struggling to figure out who gets left out.
Well, if Cipriani goes,
if you took 3 fly halves, I'm struggling to feel.
But this is what we'll go through when we do the full 31, and we'll work it out and we'll make some tough decisions. Because that's what we're here for, Dan. That's what England rely on us for. This is for making the tough decisions.
That is what they do rely on us for. I couldn't agree more, my man.
Other news. So Leicester Tigers are up for sale.
So this I found quite interesting. So it's not necessarily about the Leicester Tigers being up for sale, but reading the article, one of the reasons that they've now become a more attractive prospect is the investment by CVC is, and I think each club got, I think it was 12, 13 million, means that they're not in debt. So they become, purely from a business point of view, they become a more attractive investment prospect. Whereas before, and as rugby fans, I think so many of us are forever grateful that a lot of these clubs are funded by very well-meaning, very rich men who have a complete love for the sport. Whereas now, it might be viable for sort of outside interest to put money into these clubs because from a business perspective, with CVC behind and looking to expand, it's actually worth their while.
Well, yeah,
and
potentially profitable,
in which case,
which is always nice.
Yeah, exactly. I understand profits are part of business, but it's in which case does this help the English game? I mean, how much could this potentially help improve the English game? I mean, obviously this can't have an impact this World Cup, but even in 4 years' time, it could be that quick. Is it going to help because you'll keep your big players? I mean, I think in England you can do that anyway. You might get more sides. Like the Premiership becomes a very good, strong league, which it already is, in my opinion, the best in the world anyway. But could it become better? Is this only good for English rugby?
I think there are probably two schools of thought here, because on the one hand, it almost looks obvious. Well, of course, if there's more money in the game, teams can get better, facilities can get better. The size of their grounds and the amount of fans they can get in, and therefore the amount of money they can generate increases. And it all spirals. I think on the flip side, the danger and where they need to be careful and where they kind of need to, I guess, draw some sort of line is what we don't want is for it to become like football, where teams in the English Premiership start getting inundated with foreign players. Now, the difference is that England is one of the top teams in the world, so actually English players, are among the best a good chunk of the best players in the world. But from a national side point of view, you don't want every team to only be made up of world-class internationals from across the globe, and the kind of the up-and-coming players and the ones on the fringes, that give national sides that sort of strength in depth, like England have got, kind of start to suffer. So I think it's great that it's going to make leaving England less attractive, but we don't see that many, top English players leaving anymore. Is there a knock-on effect to other nations if they do take in a lot of foreign players? We're going to see other nations who have these rules in place either changing their rules or accepting the losses of some of their best players because they're moving for the money. Because we know that's a factor.
The Pro 14 would need to look at it, won't they, a bit more, because inevitably there's going to be a lot of temptation for Welsh players, for Irish players, for Scottish players as well. Yeah. I mean, not all of them had those rules, but yeah, it does. You're right. Does it knock on effect? Quite frankly, I don't care on that front. But
no, I think to be honest, I think certainly in the short term, I think positive for England. I think they just need to monitor things closely and not let it get out of control. I think that's the key. If we don't want it to become like France, where people see playing in France as a way of kind of cashing out.
Well, I remember, and this may show my age a bit, I remember back in the day when the equivalent of the Champions League used to have a rule where you could only field 4 foreign players in your team, and you're doing that. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that in rugby, like especially in Europe, saying your team must predominantly be made up of your home nation's players. And maybe 4 is too naive, but even if it's like there must be, 10 or 9 players from your home nation,
or at least 50% of the team, of the match day squad or something, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I think something that identifies the risks involved with making playing in England too appealing to other nations, for the sole purpose of ensuring that it has a positive impact on the national side and not a negative one. But I think certainly for the time being, I think it's only a good thing that more money's being invested in what's already a cracking league and.
Yeah, because what a potential, and again, I'm massively going. I may be going on the realms of a bit unlikely here, but even if you see a sort of really rich person thinking, do you know what? If I invest in a championship club, I'm going to have a few years where I'm not going to make money, but if I invest enough and get them Premiership worthy and build them up, once they're in the Premiership, the money will be there to make it worthwhile my investment without having to pay. I think Leicester like 60 million up front. You could probably get so. With any luck, and this is me with, again, very rose-tinted glasses here, thinking hopefully people will start investing in Championship as well and build that league up and just help build English rugby on a broader spectrum, because in the Championship you will get vastly predominantly English players.
Yeah. I mean, that's the answer, isn't it? We've talked about ring fencing and stuff in the past. The answer is to have a Championship that's capable of, becoming Premiership if they, sides if they're good enough, teams that can handle the change, which is what we're lacking at the moment. So certainly investment in the lower leagues is key. Let's hope that there's a knock-on effect down the leagues, and that definitely then I think becomes positive for. Maybe they need to do some sort of like sister thing. Every Premiership club has a sort of sister club in each of the leagues, so.
Well, it's like Gloucester and Hartpury, isn't it? Hartpury looked like they were going to be relegated, and then towards the end of the season, suddenly the Gloucester players, the Gloucester sort of first-team players who weren't being used, were suddenly bulked up Hartpury, and they got a few good wins. And so, if there could be more of that I think that's positive. I think that's strong, and I'm not having to go at Hartpury for that. Good for you.
There you go. Well, that almost brings us to the end of today's episode, I think, unless there was anything else that you particularly wanted to cover.
The only other thing I saw which makes sense is Graham Henry saying that he believes Wales are one of the teams to beat at the 2019 tournament. And
it's interesting you say that, because I was going to end with a similar comment, only mine was going to be, I thought I'd give you a quick laugh.
well, it could be. The problem is, if you look at the facts, it's not a ridiculous comment.
But what are the facts? When you say that you look at the facts, you're looking at their results.
Yeah. So the facts, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that I buy into that much. We've discussed this many times. If our glasses are rose tinted, they're the opposite of I don't know, red tinted, green tinted, whatever
dragon
the equivalent,
tinted.
Dragon tinted, whatever the equivalent would be. So yeah, there is that. But I'm not convinced. But I do like what he was saying when he mentions obviously that this is going to be one of the closest World Cups in a long time. There's a lot of teams in good form, and it should be an absolutely epic tournament. And I 100% agree with that. But sorry, chaps, the result is already written, my friends.
Yeah, but
we know,
exactly.
We know what's going to happen.
I mean, we know how it's going to go, and you've got a lot of teams. You've got Kiwis, you've got Saffers. England, Ireland, Wales. I mean, Australia typically you'd say a threat, but since Israel Folau is going to break them and they're going to have to be flying on like budget airways and all be knackered and screwed by the time they get there.
Yeah, they're actually
it's
walking.
Going to be very hard.
They're on their way now.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be on a boat there taking 3 months and they'll have to share kit and stuff because Israel Folau is single-handedly taking down Australian rugby. I stick by that comment. Good. He's taking me to court as well. Awesome.
That's fine. You're entitled to your opinions, mate. Just as he is. But there are consequences for your actions, and I may have to terminate your contract.
I have to set up a GoFundMe page and get 17p, 15p of it from myself.
That's about what it's going to cost. This legal battle. Anyway, Dan, we are digressing. I think, good time to say. Cool time on today's episode, guys. Thanks again for tuning in, hearing what we have to say. As always, if you've got comments on today's episode, if you've got ideas for future episodes or questions for us, you can reach us on social media at England Rugby Pod, or you can email us englandrugbypod@gmail.com. And if you get the opportunity, please head over to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and drop us a rating and a review. Let us know what you think, because it's how we know whether things are heading in the right direction. But big couple of months ahead, and looking forward to taking this journey with all of you guys. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks very much. And Sam, Tommy and Wade, thanks very much for your reviews. Please keep them coming, and we'll be back to you soon, guys.